How's it going? Welcome to Wednesday. You guys, I can't believe it is already Wednesday. This week is flying by.
It's a little crazy.
Flying. It is. It's very crazy. And you know what's even crazier? The things we're going to talk about today.
Hey, buddy.
It is crazy.
Make sure you have downloaded the Center for Biblical Unity mobile app. It is the best way to stay in touch with us across all of our platforms. Just go in your favorite mobile store, Google, Apple, whatever it is, whatever team you bat for, go download the mobile app and you can access Theology Mom, family meetings, Off Code podcast, all the things, plus all of our articles you can read natively within the app itself. And yes, Off Code is coming back.
We are coming back. We are coming back strong. Our very first conversation is going to be with author, pastor, just a really cool guy, Brian Shannon, out of Virginia. He is the author of a book called Missing Pillars. And sorry for all the noise.
What are you doing? We're trying to have a live stream here. All the shuffling.
Girl. Author and pastor and really cool guy, Brian Shannon. Brian is He is the author of a book called Missing Pillars. And we actually did a conversation with him, an interview with him.
And a book club.
Yeah. On Missing Pillars. Phenomenal book looking at what happens when fathers are missing and the need for fathers in life. He's a Black man, and so he kind of looks at the idea of fathers in the Black community and the idea of the missing father. Where are our fathers, and what are some of the ills in our communities because fathers are missing? But he has written a new book, and it's a children's book, and it's called My Daddy's Shoes. I'm probably butchering
in my father's shoes.
Yeah, I am butchering it now because I got reprimanded for trying to set up my laptop. No. And so he has a new book out, and it really just looks at his son, who is now like a grown man, but how when his son was little, he always wanted to wear his father's shoes. And, what does it mean when a little boy wants to wear their father's shoes, and the importance of having a father who a child can, want to walk in their shoes. Like there's something just so important of just the entire metaphor of walking in my father's shoes, but then also the reality that I actually have someone who's going to lead me and guide me and, show me the way that I should be walking in. And so I am looking forward to that conversation. It drops on
the microphone's by your mouth.
People pay no attention to the little woman next to me. I'm looking forward to that conversation. It drops on March 22nd. Yes. And you guys can go and pre-order Brian's book. I believe it's on Amazon still.
Mm-hmm.
Now the comment about the mic being by my mouth is because yesterday I recorded an entire podcast and forgot to put my mic in front of me. And so
it's like 3 feet away.
She is just coming for me. You guys, it's Wednesday. It is Wednesday. I would not come for me on a Wednesday if I were her. But here we are. Just treading in water that is uncharted territory. Huh.
So people are commenting about your shirt.
Spicy Christian. We don't need the mic. Yes. Let me get out of the logo. There we are. So I love this shirt. I think everyone should have this shirt. Because sometimes I am not saying I'm not a Christian. I just need the adjective to let you know I'm a little bit spicy. Like, yes, you'll get prayer, but I also might touch. Yes.
I made that for her birthday. So,
yes. So I was very surprised when I opened this up. I was like, oh my gosh, it's so cute. Yes. All right, let's get started. Hello from Arizona, 99 degrees, but it is the desert. It's night. I was driving back from a deserty part of California today, and it was 98 degrees, and I was loving it. I was like, yes, so good.
Victoria says there should be memes of our facial expressions. Natalie says she's missed the banter.
Listen.
The banter can only happen when we're in the same location.
That is not true. Oh my gosh.
All right, what are we doing?
Let's go to your thing first.
Okay. So Jillian Michaels was on Jubilee over the weekend, and in all transparency, I will say that Jillian Michaels is somebody, she's one of the celebrities that I pray for regularly. I don't know if you ever pray for celebrities, but I do. There's a few of them that the Lord really like puts on my heart. And Jillian is one of them that I've been praying for many years, and watching her kind of evolution from being sort of a progressive to being center right. It's like I'm hoping she has Christians in her life to really bring her the real Jesus, and I do pray for her. So I do have a special place in my heart for Jillian Michaels. I know a lot of people don't like her because she's kind of known for yelling at contestants on The Biggest Loser back in the early 2000s. But but it was good. Victoria said she enjoyed the interview. I wish she was saved because I can see it. Yeah. I wish Jillian would find the Lord. She's had a complicated childhood, but I think she's come a long way in her evolution. Anyways, so she was on Jubilee, which so it was Jillian Michaels versus like 19 or 20
the heavies
people that promote fat theory and body positivity. And so I thought it would be fun for us to interact with a couple of clips because it's sort of mainstreaming fat theory. What's so funny?
Okay, because every time I see something or hear something, I got a song. So did you ever watch
Jesus help?
Did you ever watch that one movie with Moto?
Who?
Moto, he was like, I like them big. I like them strong.
I have no idea what's happening right now.
If you know, you know. I'm sorry, but that is, never mind.
Okay.
That's just what.
Now back to my topic. All right.
Guess I'll excuse me. Pardon me.
So we've talked a lot on the show about critical theory, critical race theory, feminist theory. One of the critical theories people might not be so familiar with is fat theory, fat studies, which is a real critical theory. Like people can probably go get, I don't know, master's degree, doctorate. I don't know.
Sure. In critical fat theory or critical fat studies.
Oh, I think Victoria knows that song.
She is my people. I like them chunky with something. I'm sorry. I'm done. It's been a week, you guys. My brain is just kind of done. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm here for it.
All right. Let's just play the clip. Are you going to pay attention? All right. I don't know what you're doing over there. All right. Here we go. Let's play the clip. She's driving me crazy already.
You are salty.
What are you talking about? All right, here we go.
Let's go.
What I'm curious about is if you care about people's health and you have people in front of you, and I'm sure you have people online who are telling you that the body positivity movement, or I prefer body liberation, body justice, body acceptance, body blah, all the good shit that we like, actually increases their health, then I don't understand your debate. Like, what are you debating if the fat people are telling you it makes their life better?
I'm debating their physical health, and I'm debating the people who claim that you can be physically healthy at any size.
Okay. Do you think you can be physically healthy and mentally unhealthy at the same time?
Of course, but that's not the claim.
Okay, sure.
By the way, woke white Wendy here. She's a therapist.
I am sure she is. But the whole thing is that so
the claim is obesity is not healthy. Pretending it is puts lives at risk.
But then I would say what she's going to argue then is that to be the size that you want to be, like, or, the size that makes you feel body positive is the way for you to be mentally healthy. But you can be, like mental health doesn't necessarily have to have anything to do with your weight. I mean, the opposite of that would be true about skinny people or anorexics and bulimics. Like, so would she then argue that, well, you should just let people be anorexic and bulimic because that's where their positive mental space is?
You have questions. All right, let's continue with Woke Wendy here, the therapist.
I think the part where I get stuck, I am a mental health professional. I work with people from a body liberation standpoint. I work with people in all shapes of bodies. What I know to be true from my experience is that body positivity.
Body liberation standpoint.
It is.
I just couldn't let that pass.
It is.
After doing a whole dissertation on standpoint theory.
Body liberation helps people take care of themselves. It's very difficult to understand why you think somebody is going to take better care of a body they hate. Like why body positivity would not inspire people to take better care of their bodies.
My argument. I never said you should hate your body. In fact, you
No, you
should.
didn't.
Okay, so I don't think that. What I think is that there are people in the movement who have co-opted healthy at any size, and it went from access to healthcare to quite literally meaning for them that you can be healthy at any size, and that's not true.
Okay. I mean, the studies show that if you're very, 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 very thin or your body is very, 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 very big, it is more difficult to be healthy. That is absolutely true.
But then you agree with me on this point.
I don't, because I don't think body positivity is the dangerous thing. I think hatred of fat bodies and people hating themselves and people living in self-loathing because they've been taught that their body is the wrong shape, that's the danger.
Both can be true at once. So let's look.
So
Was that the whole clip?
I got another clip, but that was the taste of Woke Wendy, the therapist.
I think it's interesting how we want to create environments for people to be quote unquote healthy, but in order to create that healthy environment, in some regards, we're going to advocate for unhealthy standards as well in order to get them to be healthy. Or we're going to advocate for a reality that is going to lead to early death and disease and, extra weight on our medical system and things like that. Also, so someone else can supposedly be happy. But it's kind of like Lizzo. Before Lizzo lost her weight, she was all, I'm just body positive and da 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 da. But then she lost her weight and everybody was like, well, what happened to your body positivity?
She likes being thinner.
Right?
But being thin is like the thing now. Like everyone's on the fat shot. And by the way, I learned from this video that the body positivity people do not like the word obesity or overweight, but they do prefer the term being fat. So fat is the word we're supposed to. That's the sensitive word.
Don't call me fat. Look, I know I got issues. Just call me chunky, fluffy. I go with fluffy a lot. I'm fluffy. It's my winter weight. I know we in spring on Friday, but I'm gotta catch up.
What confuses me though about this perspective, and maybe you can help me understand it, is that like I'm thinking about it from Jillian's perspective. There's a great comment from Zainab, like, what about BMI? What about like some numbers and
data's racist? And so when you think of this whole thing in regards to race. So Ibram Kendi in his book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, talks about, the body, he doesn't call it body positivity. I'm forgetting exactly what he calls it, but he connects it to race and this idea of like this body racism. And so if you look at whiteness and what whiteness is and how data is racist and this idea of numbers and all of that being part of whiteness, well, I'm not going to come in and talk about the BMI because that is meant for a person who is not me. It's more meant for, your probably white, middle, upper class Christian.
Well, they do talk about like body justice, body liberation. And I guess to me, like there was a couple of therapists in the Jubilee thing, and it didn't seem like their project was about.
Sorry. Big bone got me. Hey, but I am big boned. Okay, go ahead. Listen, I'm listening. Go ahead. Don't pay no attention to me. Keep going.
What it just seems like their idea of therapy is
Oh, don't get me going down this trail.
Affirmation, as opposed to like, maybe I should try to figure out how to have an insight about myself that relates to my disordered thinking, whether that's, or my disordered eating, whether that's anorexia, bulimia, or overeating. It's like, it seems like there's, the way they're using the term therapy just sounds like my job as a therapist is just affirmation. It's not to help them explore this as a mental disorder, or that they have disordered eating and trying to understand why.
Mm-hmm. So I have a whole ton of thoughts about the concept of therapy at this current cultural moment, and how it is not, I mean, let me say this, it takes a lot of work, research, prayer to be able to find a therapist who is not necessarily client-centered in the wrong way. There is an aspect of therapy and psychology that is client-centered, and that can be done in a way that is good, well, true, beautiful, like that can really, I'll say, promote the good of a client. But I think what's happening right now in a lot of therapy rooms and in a lot of therapy training sessions, so in the universities, is that we have this redefinition of what the word trauma is. We have a redefinition and a remolding of what therapy should look like, and kind of like a rethinking of even who the client is and what the client is and how we should interact and engage with the client, what the goals are, all of this. And so because of that, we're seeing a shift in therapy. We're seeing a shift in, what it looks like to come alongside someone, to be a support, to walk a road with someone, to actually help someone to, investigate life and get to a better place or whatever that is. But I think that is all tied up years before they get to being that woman. I think all of that is tied up in the college classroom, the master's and PhD level classroom. Yeah, how they're trained. It's how they, and I was just talking with someone who's getting she's renewing her continuing education credits and looking at the DSM-5 and the it's kind of like an addendum or just an update, to some different terms and things like that, and how all of that is shifting from even just 10 years ago. And so I have a lot of concern about therapists. And when someone says that they are a mental health professional, I generally give side eye, because
especially if they're younger.
If they're younger, and I don't care if it's Christian or non-Christian at this point.
Another one of the therapists, there was another white lady on there who was a therapist, and she told Jillian, like, I'm not going to speak to the science. And it was just all about affirming the person. And it was pretty interesting. Now, there's another interesting comment here about an African perspective on weight.
This is very true.
Since you lived in Africa, wondering if you could comment on this. I grew up in an African country where if you were fat, and we learned today that fat is the positive word, that it was positive because it meant that you were wealthy enough to afford enough food to gain weight.
So I didn't live just in Africa, because Africa's a whole big, continent, but I did live in South Africa and often traveled to Zambia. And that idea is extremely true. And so there were two, at least in my experience, there were two main thoughts about someone who was heavy, especially a heavy woman. A heavy woman showed that her husband really cared about her. He was working, so he was able to bring home enough money. The kids were being fed. Like, we are, well off enough to eat. Another thought too that I heard quite a bit as I traveled was the idea of weight also means health, that I'm healthy, I'm not sick, I'm not, plagued down with some disease and things like that. And boy, when I say the African meal, I don't care what country you're in, Botswana, just an African meal will just be the thing that blesses you for like the month. Oh my gosh.
You love a good African meal.
I don't care what country I'm in. Yes, I do.
Okay. let's do the next clip here.
Zambia is the country I grew up in. Yeah.
Okay, this goes to what you were speaking about earlier about Kendi and the connection between fat studies and intersectionality. Are you ready?
I am.
This is big fun. Now, this woman you're going to hear from is an actual fat activist. She's the president of like a fat activist, like a very OG fat activist group that was founded in the 60s.
That everything that has to do with food and its lack of health correlates with fatness, because we are saying body positivity.
Obesity
so again, the claim here on this one is, I think this is the
Large
one of
food companies.
This is about big food is rigging the system to make people fat, because in the chemistry of the food, they make it so you don't just eat one cookie or one chip. They've rigged the chemistry that it doesn't satiate your body.
Is that what's wrong with me?
Yeah, Jillian talks about this all the time.
I've been eating like 18.
You're a victim.
I am. And I'm black. Let me stop.
Yeah,
Keep
that'll
going.
be relevant here
Come
in
on,
a
let's
minute.
go.
So that's what they're debating.
Well, we are saying body positivity, and body positivity includes all kinds of ways of being in a body, right? Not just body size. It includes all of the things about disability and skin color and hair texture and all of the things, right? Body positivity. But we really have been coding that in this conversation to talk about body size, right? And you can understand.
I actually didn't think body positivity, to be dead honest with you, I've never interpreted body positivity to be about skin color or gender ideology.
But some of the
I really
people
never
who,
did. I didn't.
So Jillian seems a little bit confused, and it's new information that the body positivity conversation is part of intersectionality. She's acting like, even as a lesbian, like, I don't know what we're talking about right now.
Oh, because of her own intersections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But some of the people who started body positivity and practice it today and talk about the values that
I don't think anybody sees it that way. That is not a part of the movement. I think the general presumption
is that it must focus on weight and weight loss, because that's a bigger narrative in the culture than some of the
that
other
is who
stuff.
we are seeing advocate. We're not seeing a person who's black being like, I'm body positive because I'm black. They're generally in a different civil rights movement.
I think that discounts the black leadership in this movement, right?
But I'm not saying that. I'm saying I very rarely see people of color simply based on prejudice regarding their skin color using body positivity to make their point. I see them, and this is a movement. I see people
people who have multiple identities that include their skin color, their gender presentation, their disability, talking about body positivity related to their body size and those other issues. We had somebody else earlier talk about that.
I've never seen it in all the years. Like I've seen active.
I mean, has anybody else here seen that?
Hang on, which you started.
Agree.
You agree with the activist?
I do agree that, especially for many Black women, it is a very intersectional reality and conversation that I am a big Black woman, or and it just all goes together. Like, I'm a plus size Black woman, or the clothing and things like that are, when we're supporting like small businesses, it is a plus size clothing shop owned by Black women, or
so it's
for Black
part of the intersection.
It is definitely part of the intersection,
and that is part of the narrative in the Black community. Because earlier there was a woman on there who came on there. She identifies herself as like, I'm neurodivergent and fat and disabled.
But
and
it's all about the intersection. So as many intersections as you can have, the better.
But that was how she introduced herself.
Yeah.
She named all her intersections. I was expecting her to get to queer, but she didn't say that. But she just kind of in the first bit. And I don't think Jillian caught on to what she was doing. And then this gal, the fat activist, came on afterward. So
yeah, but I definitely think that the whole intersectional conversation is a conversation that is in the fat sphere. And we have to remember that critical theory is an intersectional theory.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, we're only going to focus on this one thing. It's Kimberly Crenshaw. And
so let me play one more really quick clip here from this same woman, and then we move on to something else. But there's part of this clip I didn't quite understand. I was hoping you could explain it to me. And that is concerning discrimination.
Do I have accommodations for the body that I'm in right now,
100%.
not the body that I might be in someday? And so I think about these systemic disenfranchisements and discriminations that happen to people, especially people in larger bodies.
Yep.
And when I want to embrace body positivity, it's more than just that personal self-esteem piece.
Right.
But what you seem to be talking about is the personal self-esteem
Not
piece.
true. That's not just what I'm talking about. And I'm not going to disagree with you on any of what you just said. I'm well aware of where this started. And it was, I think, a gentleman that was pretty upset about how his wife was being treated, right? And he started it.
Glad you know that origin story.
I do know a lot about it. In my opinion, there's no question it has been co-opted. And when the vast majority of your TikTok influencers don't know the origin of your story, and those messages are communicated in 15-second memes, then you own meme consequences. And that's where I take umbrage with it. And it's become this amalgamation of rolling up different movements along the decades. So we can't be like, well, I'm gonna carve out the part that's the rights piece and forget, don't look over here. I look at it in its entirety, and there are parts of it that I take umbrage with.
That's how I feel about the health and wellness industry, right?
That's
I look
fair.
at it in its entirety.
That's
there
fair.
are parts that I take umbrage with. And we know when you introduced yourself, you talked about being a health advocate. Does your advocacy include making sure that people are not discriminated against?
Without question.
So how
I
do
would
you
never
do that for
advocate
people
for
in
that.
larger bodies?
Well, personally, I don't get involved in that kind of policy outside of what I do in relationship to big agriculture, big food, big pharma, and big insurance. That's my primary focus when it comes to policy. To be dead honest, I think you probably do a better job in this area than I do. But I would never, ever disagree with you here. I would cooperate with you in any way you ask me to.
So would you say that it should be against the law to discriminate against people based on their body size?
Unquestionably.
So
Okay, what does that mean? Like, because there are
And
some,
that's true. That's a tricky question.
because she said unquestionably, discrimination according to body size shouldn't be a thing. But so, like, are we going to have fat women play in the NBA? Are we going to have fat?
Well, I mean, I think that's like on the way out there spectrum.
Okay.
But if we look at it in real time, does that mean that Southwest should offer a free seat to someone
that's a
who
better example.
is plus size? I would say no. Like, at some point, you have to be responsible for yourself. So I'm not discriminating against you, but I am not going to offer you special treatment. And so if you want a seat on Southwest, you need to fit within the seat on Southwest, and understand that if at any point you then infringe upon the rights of someone else's seat, you might need to buy that seat to be able to accommodate your needs. So it's not discrimination. I believe that many people would say, well, that's discrimination because I'm a plus size person. And, there was the whole conversation about Southwest and their policy and getting rid of that policy and things like that. And it's like, no, like, that's not discrimination. I think we have to have a conversation on what are you considering discrimination. It's like, yeah, I can unquestionably stand behind you and say nobody should discriminate against you. Yeah, nobody should be able to call you out of your name. Nobody should be able to, bar you from being able to get a bank account because you're a plus size person. But I also would say that I can't hire you to, I don't know,
maybe I don't want to hire her to
run a marathon. Like, maybe I'm a person who trains marathon people, and
I don't want to hire as a trainer. I don't want to
coaches.
hire as a trainer at my gym.
Like,
or I don't want to hire her as a bikini model. And what just is disturbing to me.
Oh, but see, that's another thing though. The idea of plus size models, and why wouldn't you hire me to be in your bikini model, your swimsuit spread? I feel fine with my body. So why are you now discriminating against my body? I think that the conversation of discrimination, we really need to have more well thought out conversations.
Here's another example: is the Uber situation.
Yeah.
Plus size people fitting in an Uber car. What if they can't get in and out properly?
If you're gonna bend my rims, you can't get in my car. I'm sorry.
But do you notice how the word discrimination is almost like this, I don't know, signal to the other person of like, oh, to be a good person right now, I have to affirm I would never discriminate. And I'm thinking, okay, we haven't defined the word. We don't know what we're really talking about. There's like this knee-jerk reaction to the word.
It's a Mott and Bailey. Not a Mott and Bailey. It's a Trojan horse. Sorry. It is very much like we need to accept this Trojan horse of, no discrimination. But as soon as we say, okay, fine, no discrimination, then I have to accept all of the things that pop out of that. So you have to be in my Uber car. You have to have 2 airplane seats. You have to be my swimsuit model. Yeah. You have there's all of these things. It's like, well, wait a minute. Actually, we might need to discriminate. We might need to say, no, I have choice. You have choice. And we're going to participate in accordance with our choices.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I think with and this does go back, I wish Kevin was here, because he has a lot more thoughts on this as I'm still processing it. But a lot of this conversation goes back to the civil rights era. And, who can you have in your business? Who can you not have in your business? What does discrimination look like? Do we have constitutional rights as Americans to be able to say, I will not serve this person? And, I think with some of these conversations regarding discrimination, it has opened the floodgates to say we must accept anyone and everyone, regardless of whether I want to or not, whether or not it goes against my values, my morals. And so, when I say that it's a Trojan horse and we will not discriminate, at some point we also have to consider the conversation of, well, if we're not going to discriminate, and I know it's it's pressing against the church, it's creeping around in our church parking lots now, it hasn't really reached our door, but at some point it's going to be like, you don't discriminate, right, Christian? So then come and let me come hire this gay pastor. If you don't hire him, well, then that's
because intersections,
because of intersections, and or this woman, or this whatever, or just the person that you might not like I don't like you, I don't want to hire you. And so we need to really consider what discrimination means. How are we defining this term? Where is it appropriate and right to discriminate? Not all discrimination is wrong, bad, or illegal, and so I think we need to have better conversations around it.
Elaine gives a practical example. There are hiking paths through rock formations, and the ranger will have each person fit through a certain doorway to make sure that they can complete the trail. So would they want their own access on tight rock formations?
What? I don't even, first of all, I don't hike.
So when you go hiking, there's very tight spaces you have to fit through, and they don't want people getting stuck.
Girl, can you imagine?
So they pre-vet you to make sure that you can fit. And so is that, but what's the fat accommodation? Is that discrimination?
Yeah. Absolutely not. But if you want to FAFO and get stuck, I guess, or mess around and find out,
okay.
I can't, but yeah, no, I don't know. That's not for me.
All right, next up.
Tight rock formations, Father.
All right, next up is a little highlight from a podcast called
Black Girl Theology.
Black Girl Theology. Okay.
It's theology just for me.
Yeah, she said that she couldn't find theology or podcasters that was relevant to her as a young Black girl. So she started her own. Because I watched her little
I'm not
origins story
do what you
video.
do.
Okay, so here she is talking to somebody named Brenda Palmer. I don't know who either of these women are.
Either.
So we're going to just watch this clip, and then you had a thought about what was being said.
I want to be married, but I'm very well aware that to be married is going to be a disruption to my life. Mm-hmm. And usually...
So this is 2 single women talking.
Okay.
I'm in spaces where I'm the only single one, right? Mm. And then they want to ask me the single question, how are you navigating ministry as a single woman? And I always say, excuse me, I'm Brenda, and I'm the wealthiest person up here. I got all my time. I can make any decision I want to make between me and the Lord. I don't got to ask nobody. I don't got to check with nobody. If I want to pick up and go to Switzerland in the middle of the week, I could do that. Yeah. I'm wealthy. They got to figure out how to manage their time between the Lord and their kids and their spouse. I'm grateful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we need to be more vocal about that, because for so long, singles have been shamed for embracing the life the Lord gave them and finding contentment. Because I don't want to be in a green room and the first question you want to ask is, so are you dating? No. Am I being discipled? You should care more about that. Yeah. And so I think I feel like I'm this way, like I'm single right now, so I could be vocal and make y'all feel as bad as y'all made us feel. Not just playing. But it's funny though, because it's almost jarring. I remember the first time I said that, a panel full of married people, and I was like, crossed my legs. Hello, right. I'm the wealthiest person up here, and they're all like, how do you spend your time? Yeah. I'm wealthy. And at any moment I could be like you. You could never be like me. I mean, you could, but I don't know if that's going to be biblical. And so and immediately all the single people, half the church, just erupted, right? Because somebody needs to let us know it's okay it's okay. Because what about the people who are like, I don't even want to be married, but feel shame to even say that out loud? Maybe that's what the Lord called them to do. And they're
Okay, that was Monique's clip. So we're going to wait till she comes back. We're having an emergency outside the window. She had to go notify the building people. So while we're waiting for her to come back, and we'll talk through the clip, I saw something on X today about Baylor University. And this is kind of in my ongoing research about Christian colleges. So how many of you sort of have an impression that Baylor is a Christian college? It is a Baptist college. In fact, I looked up what they say on their website about their affiliation. So it says Baylor was founded on Christian values and is affiliated with the Baptist General Convention of Texas. Being a Christian, however, is not required for admission. In our undergraduate student body, it represents about 40 different religious affiliations. Now, they do have them go to chapel services, they take religion classes, and there's service opportunities, and they do have a seminary. Okay. So, and the seminary students help in there's a chaplain in the residence life hall and stuff like that. So there is still kind of a nod to being rooted in Christianity at Baylor. And I'm only bringing this up because I get people asking me about Baylor every so often on Facebook, and like, oh, you're looking into Biola. What's the deal with Baylor? And people that I know send their kids to Baylor thinking, oh, it's a very good, solid Baptist university. But I'm not sure how many of these well-meaning Christian parents are aware that Baylor admits students from other religions, including Muslims. And this is the post that's been circulating today on X, is that Baylor University is promoting halal options for their students during Ramadan. And the poster is asking what happened to being a private Christian university. And this is from What's New at Baylor U, marked March 16th, which was a couple of days ago. You don't have to leave school to have fun. And then Ramadan meal options, halal meal options are available. And so just kind of interesting to be aware as you're thinking about Christian colleges. One thing to find out is, are all the professors required to sign a statement of faith? Mm-hmm. What about students? What are their beliefs? And then how wide does that go? You could inquire about, well, how many students, like what are your demographics on other belief systems, on other religions, and how does that impact student life? So just as you're vetting Christian colleges, just trying to help you know some other questions to ask. I'm not saying that you might be totally fine with your kid and you paying $60,000 a year or whatever Baylor's tuition is. You might be totally fine with them going to college. You're thinking it's a Christian college and going to college with a certain percentage of Muslim students. You might be totally cool with that. That's great. That's for you to decide. But I'm just trying to help you ask questions so you can be aware and choosing of what your options are.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I had to step away for a second.
I told them that.
Okay. So did you talk about the clip?
No.
Okay.
We just
kept on going.
We just kept on
Walk
going.
on by.
So we can go back to your thoughts about the clip.
My thoughts about that clip were, I guess it especially kind of pricked an area in my heart because it was 2 Black women. And, I think studies are that only 1 in 4 Black women will get married over the course of their lifetime. It's a very anemic way to look at and consider marriage, that I am the wealthiest person in the room because I have my time, because I can pick up and go to Switzerland. Like I am, single, don't have kids. And I still see that as such an anemic view in the bigger picture of God's design and his plan for humans, which is to marry and to procreate. And sure, not everyone will do that. And we should, I almost see her little rant as like a promotion of like, we should be promoting singleness. We should be having more conversations about the value and the benefit and the beauty of being single. And there are things that are beautiful and valuable about being single. My sister had a stroke. I went to Arizona for 3 months. I was able to do that. If I want to get up on a plane tomorrow and go to South Africa, I can do that. And there is still something that is of greater value. And I would say that marriage and family is of greater value. And even of more greater value than that is, how do we serve the Lord? I would say that, serving the Lord inside of the confines of marriage is a beautiful thing. And we should be encouraging women to that, as opposed to encouraging women to consider their singleness as wealth. Now, do I look at myself and feel like I am deficient? I would say no. Are there days when, being single is harder than not? Sure. There are days when I'm like, man, I wonder what it would be like. Or, that's just real. That's just human emotion. But to consider myself more wealthy than, or wealthy because of my singleness, I was like, that might be taking it a step too far. And we need to be careful, especially as there is this cultural conversation of, I can do everything. I can do it by myself. I can afford my own thing. I can buy this. I can go where I want. I can have the job that I want. That is keeping, especially Black women, that's keeping us behind. We are one of the slowest growing populations in America. It doesn't benefit us. That conversation does not benefit us. But I would say, as women, regardless of skin color, that type of conversation isn't of value or of benefit. She said, instead of asking me, am I married? Ask me, am I being discipled? Well, part of the role and responsibility of your husband would be to disciple you. And so, and to protect you and to provide and like all of these things. And yes, you are, they're your partners, but there is something beautiful in marriage. And I think that conversation really just strips away, I think, a lot of that beauty that can come in marriage, especially as we are working to disciple young women and to have them have a proper and appropriate view of God's creation and his design for humans. So yeah, I was really discouraged by that little clip right there. I was like, darn it, people.
Well, I think one thing to understand about how she's using the word wealthy is that she's talking about her time and her energy, mostly, not money wealth.
She does say wealthy, not rich. Laura pointed that out. But there are other things that she says that kind of include rich, because she can buy whatever she wants to buy. She can go to Switzerland if she wants to. Going to Switzerland ain't cheap. She's gonna have to pay for that ticket. So it's her time, but there is also a monetary value that's associated with that.
Yeah, I think this whole singleness conversation is such a difficult one, because people can be single for a lot of different reasons. And sometimes people can even get married for a lot of different reasons. Mm-hmm. And, you know, if her or anybody has a calling from God to ministry, and which I think is the comparison that she made to the Apostle Paul earlier in the clip. I don't think I played that part, but she did say, you know, like Paul's discussion in Corinthians about singleness, and like I'm all for it. Like if God calls somebody specifically to be single for the purpose of ministry, like to me that's different than somebody who is just busy pursuing their career and never gets around to being married. You know, to me, those are two different
But I would also offer caution, because people will say, God has called me to singleness, and use that as an excuse. I'm single, I'm just in ministry. You know, and that may not actually be the case. I think that if you are in ministry and God is calling you to singleness, there would be maybe confirmation, or, you know, other things that line up that really show like, yeah, this person is truly being pushed towards singleness, as opposed to, well, I'm in ministry. I lead children's church on Sundays. I'm an assistant, but then the rest of the time I am, you know, traveling the world and pursuing my career. And to me, I just think that can become an excuse of like, well, Paul told us to pursue and prefer, you know, ministry. And then, you know, as long as I'm not, you know, burning in lust, then I'm okay. I don't know. I think we can have better conversations about marriage and preparing people in a better fashion for marriage. Like, marriage is what we prepare you for, and this might be the exception, rather than kind of what I heard with her. Maybe I'm just putting too much into it, but what I heard from her is that we need to start uplifting this conversation of singleness, and maybe, you know, understanding that marriage might be the exception for some.
Yeah, I think so much of it is just around the intention of the heart. Like if you're wanting to get married, you're open to marriage, versus I'm just out here pursuing my career, and if I happen to find a man who fits into my plans, then okay, I'll get married. Like, to me, those are just two very different heart postures. And I can't pretend to know. There wasn't enough there for me to know what her heart posture is, but I think it speaks to the broader culture of, and honestly, I can look back on my life now at my age and think there were ways that I was influenced by feminism that I didn't even realize when I was in my 20s and 30s.
Definitely.
Like, I didn't realize how feminist some of my ideas were about pursuing my career. I did not have an intention in my heart toward having children. I never even thought about it until it just kind of happened to me. And thank you for God and his providence for stopping my education and bringing kids along so that I did something different. But even then, I never had a posture of like, there's just some things that I would do so differently now. And I guess my advice to young women and young men is have a posture and an openness toward marriage, toward building a family, toward building a legacy. I didn't think about it that way when I was in my 20s and 30s. Nobody ever sat me down and explained to me how to think about these things. And so what I have figured out in a lot of the conversations I have on my channel is about things I wish people had taught me. I wish people had explained this to me. And I would have ordered my steps differently. So,
yeah. Well, friend, it's been good.
I think this is a great point too, is I never thought I would be unmarried, but I enjoy my life in Christ. And there can be definitely like, there's the physical children of Genesis 1 and 2. And then there's the spiritual children of the Great Commission. And like, you know, I think that both are valid. So I didn't feel called. I just never found that relationship. I have been treated as less than.
I think that's a whole nother conversation, and, you know, just different different ways that singles can be treated. I think I maybe one day I'll do a podcast on that. But
you have one conversation you've done on it on TC's
on TC's podcast. Yeah, that was very interesting. It was a good conversation about singleness, and when I think for me, like, I was busy doing other things and figured I would get around to it at some point, and maybe the Lord will still bring it around. I don't know. I'm open to that. But what I don't think is that there should be a posture of like, I
thought this was a good comment.
Wealthy for it.
Is what kind of getting at what you were saying. Her demeanor in talking about singleness seemed off-putting, defensive, and prideful. I think that kind of approaches
that's kind of
how it was hitting you.
Yeah. So. All right. It's time for us to wrap it up, guys. Can you please like this show? It will help us out in our algorithms. We would greatly appreciate it. And with that, we will not be here next Wednesday.
Oh, we won't?
No, we will not be here next Wednesday. Maybe we can do it on...
I thought we might be on the road and be able to do it.
From the road?
I don't know.
We won't be here next Wednesday, friends. I'm sorry. Okay. But maybe we'll do it next Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah. If we can do it on Wednesday, we will, but I doubt it. I don't think so.
Okay.
All righty. You guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. It's been good.
All right. We will see you